Hey there. Good morning, everybody. Dr. Arafich here from Vet Triage. It's June 23rd, 9:25 a.m. in Austin, Texas. And I'm here at the American Veterinary Medical Association Convention, AVMA, to give to be on a panel tomorrow, June 24th, talking about everything from diversity to telehealth to spectrum of care. All good stuff. Should be exciting. And I hope to be able to live stream tomorrow before the panel. I'm not sure I will be able to beforehand. And if I can't do it beforehand, I probably won't live stream at all tomorrow. So stay tuned. We'll see. Anyway, I figured while I was here, we can talk about veterinary conferences. And this is intended for both, mostly for veterinarians, especially new grads, but pet owners can watch as well. Obviously, as a pet owner, you won't be attending a veterinary conference. It's only for veterinarians and veterinary technicians. Oh, I see we have an audience member. Hi, thanks for joining us. And but it's good to kind of think about sort of the pros and cons of these conventions and learn about what your veterinarian has to go through for it and all that good stuff. So, in general, the veterinarians are required in order to maintain their license a certain number of continuing education hours. It's called CE, and that those CE hours are vary depending on location in the United States. Sometimes they require a certain amount once a year. Sometimes a certain amount every other year. It varies on that front. It also varies as far as whether or not what type of continuing education is required from the veterinarian, whether it be anything on controlled substances or certain disease categories or whatever it may be. But every state's got their own rule, which is very stupid, but that's how it is currently. Hopefully, we can make it more homogenous in the future. We'll see. So that's one reason for coming to veterinary conferences is to maintain our veterinary licenses. The second reason to come, oh, and by the way, veterinary technicians can fall under the same categories. They're not nearly as required to come to conventions, but the presence for veterinary technicians is becoming increasingly more common, which is good that they're involved. So, but I'm going to comment on the veterinarians. That's what I'm most familiar with. Second reason for joining a conference for a veterinarian would be for education, for actual education, even though the continuing education hours are supposed to be symbolic of the veterinarian learning stuff. It's it's based more on numbers than it is on what type of continuing education the veterinarian is seeking, or even the quality of it. And so, as long as you fill in those numbers, there's not much. There's not much incentive really to go to lectures that maybe you want to go to or higher quality or whatever, which is a shame. But essentially, your goal when you're at the conference is to learn new stuff, and the conferences are supposed to be locations where or congregations where veterinarians are being exposed to the most cutting edge, up to date research and technology and treatments, all the new stuff. So that's the second reason why veterinarians will join a conference. The third is the travel. It's a cool opportunity to visit a new state, a new city that you haven't been to before. A lot of these conferences, some of them actually, they do try to leverage the benefits of the area. If you go to a conference in Colorado, there's probably going to be breaks for skiing opportunities. Sometimes there are conferences that occur in Europe or in Costa Rica or Hawaii, and so of course you want to take part in the festivities there. So they try to incorporate the surrounding area with the conference itself. So it's a nice way to explore regions of the U.S. and possibly the world that you haven't been exposed to before. Um, Fourth reason is to maintain your relationships with colleagues and friends. It's a great networking at conferences. You're going to meet so many people, familiar faces from your past, who you've worked with, who you've trained, who you have partnerships with. It's an opportunity to maintain relationships there. Number five, a big part of conventions are the exhibit halls. So the exhibit halls are usually very large rooms where there's many booths. These booths are owned by or rented rather by a company, and the company uses the booth to promote their product or service or whatever. And Some are very small, some are very, very large. Um, and all of them, of course, have the theme of whatever the conference is. If it's a canine police conference, and they have all this canine gear and police stuff and whatever. If it's a rescue shelter conference, they have a lot of rescue and shelter stuff. But regardless, it's pretty much a good variety at every conference for stuff that you can buy and whatever. But the reason why I bring this up is not only for the opportunity to buy stuff that you may need as a practitioner, but also a lot of times they have deals, they have discounts or whatever to entice you to buy stuff that you can't normally get outside of the convention. So those are a handful of reasons why veterinarians go to conferences, and overall, that those are all positive stuff. Let's talk about the kind of negatives, like why wouldn't you want to go? There's a few reasons there. As you already could tell from the license requirements, it's dumb that there's a certain number of hours required over a certain time span. With no real focus on kind of the quality or type of CE, but so you end up going to CEs that you don't care about the topic. You know, you're going just to get the hours collected, which is that's unfortunate, especially for experienced practitioners that really want to learn stuff, or even for new veterinarians that want to learn stuff. It's just silly to have to go to a talk that you're not really interested in. It's not, and sometimes it's not the conference's fault either. Sometimes you have multiple interesting talks happening simultaneously, and you can't go to all of them. And then you have another hour or two of talks where you're not interested in any of them, but you go because you need the hours. Second concern I have with conferences is it's an expense. It's expensive to plane tickets or car ride, hotel, car rental, the food, all that stuff plays a role. Then, of course, it's the cost for attending the conference. Are you going to have a guest or not? Are you going to attend any of the special events like concerts or comedy shows or keynote speakers, whatever? Some of these events cost money, and it's expensive. And third, that kind of ties into the expense is you're taking time away. You have to leave your family. You're taking time off of work. It's a bit annoying to do it, which is why virtual webinars and other type of virtual sources of continuing education are so valuable, because you can watch a talk that you can watch the talks you want to watch whenever you want to watch them. You can pause it, rewind it, whatever, and you don't have to leave your home. So virtual conventions are great for that. They're not great for networking. They're not great for exhibitors at booths. Um, you can't really ask like questions of the lecturer after the talk, because it was probably it's live and they don't have that functionality, or it was pre-recorded, and you can't ask any questions. So there's downfalls to virtual as well. It's nowhere near as engaging and fun, but it allows you to tailor it more to what you need, and you can leverage it accordingly. And then also, I think it's the fourth reason. The fourth negative to conferences is a lot of the technology, or a lot of the talks are not up to date. They spit out the same, information that we're all familiar with as veterinarians, with nothing new to add. Just a reminder of the same crap we already know. And, maybe they'll have a couple of pointers here and there, but largely it doesn't really, depending on the speaker and the topic, of course, and the type of conference. If you go to a conference that's more for specialists, you may see a lot more specialty or cutting edge, up to date research stuff. But even in those conferences, it's not always the case that you get the most cutting edge stuff. In fact, I would argue that it's becoming increasingly diluted over the past few years. If you're looking for update information, it's just not there in a lot of these conferences. So, you know, but yeah, I think it's probably a good place to stop. Those are just a handful of pros and cons to conferences. At the end of the day, I think probably if you ask me what my solutions are, I think that number one, we should have continuing education requirements be the same across the board, every state. They shouldn't be allowed to just tailor it to whatever they want. It should be standard across the board. So that's number one. Number two, I think it ought to be tailored to the veterinarian. If you are in a place in your life where you can travel and you want to go mingle and go to events and whatever else, great, then go in person. If you don't have that kind of freedom, maybe you're a practice owner or you're a new parent or whatever it is, then you should leverage webinars, and both things should be acceptable. Of course, the concern there is quality control. How do you know that somebody's watching a webinar and actually watching it and learning it? But I would say that that's at the detriment of the veterinarian. The veterinarian wants to just go to a talk and not listen. They can do that in person too. It's not like that's unique to virtual. So, and that only hurts them if they don't want to learn the information that's there. So it just doesn't, the quality control doesn't make any sense because we're all adults and it's up to us to make the most out of our education. But I think it should be tailored towards what it is that you need and what your lifestyle is like. Um, so yeah, so those are my thoughts about conferences. I think the main goal really for them is to network. I think that's the biggest part about it. And then secondarily is to accumulate your hours, and then everything else is kind of bonuses as far as events goes and learning stuff and whatever. Because the way they're set up now, they're really just set up for networking, buying stuff, equipment and textbooks, things like that you need, and then getting your hours, and everything else is unfortunately secondary. Even though it really should be probably the reverse. It should be education first and foremost, cutting edge new stuff, and then second is I would say visiting the booths to find out what you need about new products and services. Vet Triage does usually have a booth at the conferences. We hand select which ones we want to go to, and so if you're ever at a conference, check us out, look up our booth, and say hi. So thanks everybody for watching in the playback. Thanks for the one person who attended for a brief moment there. And I will try to be on tomorrow. If I'm not on tomorrow, June 24th, Monday, then I'm going to be on Tuesday, June 25th. We'll see you all then. Take care.